War of 1812, Amherstburg, situated on the lower Detroit River, was a vitally important naval dockyard, responsible for Lake Erie and the upper Great Lakes. On September 10, 1813, the Americans defeated the entire British fleet at the Battle of Lake Erie. The American victory was devastating for the British Navy.
It was decided to destroy everything that could be of use to the Americans and began a slow retreat up the Detroit River to the Thames Valley.
The British and the natives and a lot of their families and a lot of the inhabitants of Essex County, Amherstburg, Sandwich were fleeing the Americans. They were in small naval vessels and bateaux, but they were also on foot coming along the mud path, and it was very muddy because it had been raining.
Proctor, the British general, had promised Tecumseh that he would fight at the forks of the Thames in Chatham.
This is the spot where Tecumseh always wanted to defend, and as you can see, it's a perfect spot. We're on higher ground, we've got the river, and we've got the creek, which is a natural barrier, so this would be a perfect spot to defend against the Americans coming up.
But outnumbered and with no fortifications, they were forced to retreat further inland. Along the way, private properties were commandeered by both sides. The night before the Battle of the Thames, the British stayed at the McRae homestead. Lemuel Sherman's farmland now includes a cemetery with the remains of a burned-out barn used as a makeshift hospital by the Americans. And Tecumseh and his braves camped here at what was once Arnold's Mill. A few miles east of Thamesville, the British and Tecumseh made their stand. In cooperation with the Royal Scots Grenadiers, an annual reenactment takes place just outside of London at Fanshawe Pioneer Village. It gives a good sense of an inland battlefield and the battle that took place in October 1813. 1,000 natives fought valiantly, but they and 500 British regulars were no match for 3,000 American troops. And when Tecumseh was killed, the native forces lost heart.
It was here where any chance of Tecumseh and the Indian nation forming their own nation, as they were promised by the British, was destroyed. Once Tecumseh was killed, that really ended the Indian Confederation, and no longer was it possible, if it ever was, that the natives would have their own land.
When I think of the War of 1812 and the British involvement, the British Indian Department's role, especially here in Amherstburg, is that the work that these officers of the British Indian Department and their men did to gain the respect and the relationships with the various First Nations people of the West, that without that hard work, the War of 1812 would have been a much different conclusion. We can always debate who won the War of 1812, whether you're American, British, but if there's one thing that can't be denied is who really lost the War of 1812, and that would have been the First Nations people.
For more information, visit our website on topoftheworld.net.